So let's talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville. Y'all, I thought we had agreed that Maurice was never, ever gonna tell this story again. I just knew, I just knew we had heard the last of this DUI story because I thought, family, that we had established that it made absolutely zero sense when he told the story before, and it makes zero sense now. Okay. And I don't even understand why it's coming back up. This is the last point I would ever be making at a table full of my friends, knowing good and doggone well that the story to me it sounds cockamamie. Whether or not it's true is irrelevant at this point. It's relevant to Maurice, but irrelevant in how it sounds. And I think that's the point here. When he tells this story, he almost refuses to understand how much it sounds like comedy. Okay. And I'm not, listen, anytime someone is in a car crash, we take it seriously. Absolutely. Whether you were drinking or not. Okay. The goal here is to stay alive, right? We want you to be alive. We don't want bad things to happen to you. But in the retelling of this tale, it would be best just to say, I had a car accident. That's it. Leave it there. Because when you start to get into those intimate details of, I hit a tree, I had a pole, and I had an animal, it raises too many questions. What kind of animal? Was that the exact order that it happened in? Is what was the reason you hit the pole? Did you hit the pole first? Is the pole still upright? Is the tree still upright? How did your car hit the pole, then the tree, and then the animal? What happened to this poor animal? Like, what was it, a deer? Was it a bear? Was it a lion? Tigers? What was this animal that you, an iguana, an alligator? I don't know what they have down in Alabama. I don't know what's down there. So you've got to be a little bit more descriptive to us with what it is that you hit. Did you hit a dog? Was it a stray cat? What was on the road and on the highway that you hit that scurried along your path as your car is diabolically swerving, hitting this, that, and the third? Because that's what I'm left to wonder every time you tell the story, Maurice. Every time you tell it. And I know you if you're here and you haven't seen the episode, you might be wondering, well, Richie, why are you going down this road with this car accident? Because it is the point of contention that arises between Maurice and Martell that explodes at the end of this episode. So let's get into the episode description itself, and then we'll talk about the highlights and the lowlights. Okay. All right. So it says episode 628. Well, I think this is episode 28 of season 11, or maybe it's episode 8 of season 11. I don't really know because I can't really tell how the seasons are divvied up. But what we know is we're coming to the end of the road. And this episode is called All's Well That Yells Well. The gang travels to Guntersville for a couple's retreat that Kimmy has planned. Now that Trisha's divorce is finalized, she doesn't seem that happy. Destiny and Tisha attempt to mend their relationship, and Maurice and Martell bump heads over Maurice's DUI story. Okay, so Kimmy has planned this getaway to Guntersville, and everyone is staying in what appears to be almost like tiny homes, but they're really, I guess, I don't know what they are. They're homes that look like they are in the mountains, for which you can do a lot of things there. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Although I would much rather see them go on an international vacation, but they've been filming for so long. I mean, it's hard to tell when they should be going, where they should be going, right? And I think we've got the budget for it at this point. I really do. And I think we also need some new characters. Like, I just need maybe like one other couple to really spice up this group, because I just think that there's been so much history here that this DUI argument, it feels redundant a little bit, right? Because I think that there have been so many new things that have actually occurred, that to go back to this, even Martell seemed a little taken aback by it, as was I. Had I not seen the previews, I really wouldn't have even known that this was maybe gonna happen or occur. And I kind of wish that they had maybe, I don't know. Let's get into it. Let's just dive in. Kimmy has planned this trip. The whole group is going, minus the Fletcher's family, but the Fletchers are going to be there. So of course we've got Latisha, Marceau, Kimmy, Maurice, Martell, Destiny. Martell is, I'm assuming, not allowed to bring his plus one, so he is rooming alone, as is Destiny. But Will does arrive, so maybe he's gonna be the couple for Destiny. I mean, even though they are just friends, I like Will for this show. I think I've told you guys that before. There's something about him that I find to be very, very intriguing. He's kind of mysterious to a certain degree, but I do like what he brings to the show in terms of pushing people towards a level of maybe honesty, as we will see in the next episode based on the preview. Also, I think he is a good buddy for Ken, because I think Ken also needs someone on this show that kind of like has his back when he's being questioned by the guys. So I appreciate his presence there for that. Also, too, I think that it just shakes up the dynamic to have someone else in the mix that is not so integrated within the group and is getting to know them, right? And yeah, so I'll leave it there with him. Now, Latricia is coming into this straight after her divorce proceeding. So the divorce at this point sounds like it's final, but it does sound to me like there's still some things that maybe need to be ironed out. We don't really get clarity on that. What we do get clarity on is that she's feeling some type of way. Now, when I first was watching this, my thought was, well, why don't you seem happier about this situation? I mean, based on what we know about Trish and Marquez, I think that's his name, is that this was a tumultuous ending that has been a pretty extended timed release, right? What I mean by that is, ain't y'all been going through this for a very long time? Aren't you tired? Like, in my mind, that's what I was thinking. And of course, not really understanding what people go through when they go through a divorce. And maybe it's not just that she's gone through a tumultuous time, but maybe it's the final dissolution of something that really at one point in time meant a lot that she also needs to recover from. And I get this more from Maurice and Martell, who really dive into how long it takes to get through something like that and what that day of divorce, when it's finally settled, what it really, really feels like. So I was actually kind of happy to hear them speak on that, because for me, my mind was just jumping to, girl, use free. Use free. You is free. You free. Like, free your mind, baby. Free your mind now, and the rest will follow. Nothing else matters. So as the men at a certain point are divided from the women on different catamarans or boats, the men do question, okay, what's going on? How do you feel about this? She doesn't really seem that happy. Like, but the real question is from Marceau is, are you going to be able to be a safe space for Trish to really grieve the ending of this relationship because of how you feel about her? And I think it's a valid question, maybe not coming from Marceau, but it's a valid question in general. And for Ken, I like his response in this moment. And I like that he doesn't allow them to goad him into a reaction about her allegedly spinning the block. I feel like people have tried to make this spin the block comment a thing for Ken to get a reaction from him. And I'm glad that he's not really taking the bait, because for him, he's like, well, if she spun the block, I spun the block. We're not going to get into I'm not going to get into the particulars of what that actually means for either one of us with you. Okay. And I think that's fair, to be honest. Now, granted, Trish was the one that really hyped up the spin the block of it all, but I kind of feel like that was in retaliation and probably as a result of her drinking during that particular episode when she was having her girls' night at the drag bar. So that's my suspicion, but I don't really know, because she later on tries to flip that story and make it seem a lot more minuscule than it maybe actually was. Or maybe that night when she was drinking, she might have hyped it up a bit more and maybe led the ladies on to believe that it was one thing when it really, really wasn't. Either way, I don't know, but I do think that I agree. The way that Ken handled it, I like the way he really was like, these guys want me to react and respond. Now, he interprets that as they want him to come across as weak. And I almost think it's the opposite, that they think he's weak, thus they want him to react. That's what the guys think. But the way Ken is interpreting it is very interesting in that he feels like weakness is reacting, which I think is actually the better response to be like in general in real life. Now, for reality TV purposes, yeah, the guys are gonna want you to get hyped up, amped up, and be ready to rah-rah over this. But Ken is like, I'm cool, I'm chilling. Like this is between us. Martell is basically like, no, no, no. The women can't do what the men do. She can't do what I do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, shut up. Because nobody wants to hear your antiquated thoughts on how you believe men and women are the inequities for for which you believe men and women have to abide by in terms of what they do in their relationships. I don't even know if that made sense, but y'all know what I'm saying. I'm tired at this point. But you get what I'm saying. He is of one mindset that men can do certain things and women cannot. And that just don't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. We are not living like you're not living in the age of the Flintstones. And maybe you have a relationship where those roles work for you in that regard. But for the audience that's watching this, ain't nobody fooling with that. It's 2026. Like I know that there are certain systems in place right now within the world that are trying to take us back to 1963, but you don't have to contribute to that. Okay? You don't have to contribute to that mentality. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go, man. So anyway, that's the guys' conversations. Now, but before we get there, right? Because that kind of happens as the episode progresses. The group does go visit some caverns. Like they do some really cool things. They also have a night where they sit around a circle and they read poems about someone else or say something really cool about either themselves or about someone else. Martell doesn't really participate in this, probably because he can't bring his probably because he can't bring his plus one. Okay, that's probably it. And I told y'all this. I said they're gonna have to figure out something to do with Martell because otherwise he just feels like an extra person that's there. He feels like Will. And because Will is not a main cast member. So we know that he's integrated into the group. We know that he has a perspective and he has history. But in terms of the place that he's occupying currently, his story is not really being told. And thus we see less of him. And I understand the situation at this point, right? I understand it. I totally I totally get why they are choosing not to film the person that he is with currently. I get it. But I will say we're gonna have to figure out something, a way to if you guys are gonna keep him on, you got to figure out a way to bring him really into the fold. And they need to do something else like the Black Business Expo, wherein the group is working on something together in order for them to all be included in the mix in a way that also means that there is naturally occurring drama that is new for the group. So you got to find something, a common project for them to work on. This is kind of why I feel like I kind of missed the early days of Bell Collective as well, because there was this idea that they were heavily invested in bringing Farish Street back to what it used to be. And maybe at a certain point, we do elevate or evolve from that story. But I think having the women involved in something together, or having the group in this case involved in something together, a bigger picture thing, would then provide ways for them to uniquely argue, right? Or I don't want to say argue. That's not a good term, right? Because it's going to sound like, well, all y'all want them to do is argue. No, but it does. We want to see conflict, but we want to see resolution, and I want it to be natural. So I wish that we could have something like that, and I hope that they can work something like that into future storytelling within the group because it was very fascinating when they did it before. And it sparked new conversations. It sparked new feelings, new beefs, new misunderstandings, but new developments, new growth, new opportunities. And I want them to do that again. Now, the women, they go off on their own yacht and they are basically it's basically Destiny versus Latisha round 375. Okay. Kimmy is an interesting person to watch this season because I feel like Kimmy is a subtle pot stirrer, which you need on these shows. You need someone to stir up the juice, but she does it in a way that makes it feel like, well, I'm gonna help you guys resolve this thing, like, and you're thinking to yourself, I mean, and you kind of think after it's happened, like, Kimmy, this is kind of your fault. Not that the issue is your fault, but you kind of stirred up the juice a little bit on this. You stirred that pot ever so subtly that no one even noticed that we're having yet another argument between Destiny and Letitia. But she also does it with Martell and Marceau if you really pay attention to this episode. So, I mean, Kimmy, I see you. Okay. So, this leads into, again, like I said, round 375. Destiny and Letitia are. It sounds like Letitia is a bit more contrite in this situation. Even in her confessional, she sounds like she's a bit more willing to try to work through this issue with Destiny. But I think that in this instance, she's pushed Destiny a little bit too far because Destiny, when Martell arrived at the group trip, she's questioning him like, you don't think it's strange that you roomed in the same space with the Scotts? Because Destiny also knows that they have all been at odds for quite some time, but we haven't really had a group experience in a minute. So maybe she's not necessarily up on what the feelings are because the last times that she's met with Martell and they've talked about the Scotts, it has not been good. So when later on it's being asked if everyone has kept up their end of the bargain as to how Martell and Marceau are able to get along at this point, you see Kimmy sort of look kind of like skeptical. And I feel like she probably knows that that Martell has not done so. He has not. At least from what we can see, Marceau has kept up his end of the bargain. But Martell, in most of his scenes, is essentially dissing the Scots. So he's not kept up with it. But I feel like he also is still harboring feelings of resentment about the things that he's experienced with them. So he ain't over it. Okay. And I think Destiny was trying to, in my mind, what she was trying to get him to say was, Ninja, I know what you've been saying. So I know how you really feel. So you telling me something different now, or you acting like everything is all good when just last week when we was all meeting, you was talking mad ish like I was, right? So I think she's maybe expecting him to be in the same space that she is, but he seems kind of cool, kind of copacetic, basically ready to get along I'm sure he's just happy to be a part of the whole mix because we find out that, well, we actually realized that beforehand, Kimmy really don't want him there anyway, because she was not trying to invite him. It was Maurice that really wanted Martell to be a part of this. And it's interesting because Kimmy brought that right back around to him, brought it back to him, served it in his face, and basically set off an explosion that he will not soon forget. Okay. So now when she says, I don't want Martell to be there, I am quite sure after this trip, Maurice will listen. Okay. So I thought that was interesting too, the way they brought the way it, I mean, just the irony of this episode. So Destiny versus Letitia, it really gets into a couple of things. I feel like Destiny was already sitting on ready, like, girl, I've done this with you. I'm tired of it. I'm not apologizing anymore. And you've had so much to say about me. You've called me a hoe. You've said this. And I'm sure she knows. I'm sure somebody has probably told her that Marceau in the previous episode has said that she's been ran through. And I'm quite sure that ain't the first time that Marceau has said that about her. So as Letitia echoes that thought to Destiny, I'm sure at some point Destiny put two and two together that this is what y'all both think. I bet your bottom dollar. I have not asked nobody about this, but that's my suspicion. Okay. Now, as they go back and forth, Destiny is basically daring Latisha to say whatever it is that she wants to say about her as a woman, right? Because Latisha says, when I said that about you, I said it as a joke, or I said it just generally speaking, not really calling you a hoe. And Latisha also then says, I didn't actually say what I could have said about you as a woman. And Destiny's like, well, bring it. Bring it. Say what you gotta say, because I ain't went there either. And Letitia's like, well, do it. And Destiny's like, well, do it. Put it on the table. Say it now. And then Letitia's like, well, see, I'm not trying to be like you. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, we here now. Just go ahead and say it. But Letitia's like, I think Letitia is probably seasoned enough in the space to know, like, if I take it there, then we will never come back from this. And something in my mind tells me that Letitia, at the end of the day, does not really want to lose Destiny as a friend. Whereas I think that Destiny is really upset and really tired of feeling like the punching bag for the people. That's what I think is happening right now. And I also wonder if Letitia is starting to realize that Destiny is really not her true enemy in this situation and that the call may be coming from inside the house. So, having said that, Destiny ain't apologizing anymore, and that's the last that we hear of it. I wanted to see the end of this argument and see where it led, but it was probably a road to nowhere. So the group gets to dinner, and everyone, or at least Ken, I think, is remarking about how well Martell and Marceau are getting along. And the men are really just like, yeah, we can do this. We can come back from our issues, yada, yada. And the women, particularly Letitia and Kimmy, are looking like, y'all lying. Like, y'all lying. If you are lying, okay? What I think is happening is, I think that while Marceau has recognized that battling with Martell is a dangerous game, because all of these people are longtime friends and they have the secrets on each other, or they at least have what they perceive as maybe secrets on each other. And it probably would not behoove any of them. Like, I would not advise these people to air out their dirty laundry, because if y'all have been friends for that long, then, I mean, like, it just ain't cool. It's just not kosher to do. Like, for me, if I'm not friends with you anymore, like, I'm not telling your business. I'm not telling your business. I don't have to deal with you. I don't have to. I can poof. You can disappear out. I can erase you from my memory. Okay, I can do that. But I will not tell your secrets. I will not give information about you to anyone, because that's just not who I want to be, and it's just not even necessary. Like, I don't want to. I'm not doing that. It's like a code that you should just have. I mean, with people that you have been cool with at some point in time, and they've either told you things. This is why I didn't. I kind of I kind of wish that Letitia and Destiny would have just got it all out. But then I also know that I don't want them to. I think that they have both been there for each other in different ways. So I don't want them to go there. But I do think that there are things that they need to continue to hash out. And I feel like until they get to the bottom of it and come to the common consensus of what it actually is, that they're still going to have some tension and edge there. Meanwhile, the tension and edge that is at the table is, I think Kimmy has something that she feels about Martell, especially with regards to the things that Martell said or maybe laughed about when him and Maurice had their showdown. It was a while ago when this happened. So I don't know if was it this season or was it the last season. I cannot recall when it happened. But I do know that in that argument between Maurice and Martell, Martell was the victor in that situation, because the story, as Maurice attempts to tell it again, does not make any sense. So, as Kimmy is clearly still upset about this, Maurice then brings it up, and Martell is like, well, what happened then? What happened with your DUI? What happened that night? And Maurice says, I hit a tree, I hit a pole, I hit an animal. And the entire table is cracking up laughing. Letitia's even laughing. Marceau is even cackling, but trying not to laugh. Everybody is laughing at the story. And for whatever reason, Maurice is getting highly upset about it. Kimmy is clearly pissed. And then he was like, well, I was concussed. I was concussed. How was that? funny. You're laughing at it. You're laughing at it." And Martell is like, "Bro, like, do you hear how you sound? Everybody's laughing at you right now." And it's true. We are all laughing at this story because it sounds cockamamie every time you tell it. The retelling of it sounds cockamamie. The original version sounds cockamamie. The remix sounds cockamamie. I mean, the sub remix sounds cockamamie. Like the acapella version sounds cockamamie. The instrumental sounds cockamamie. It is all cockamamie at this point. I don't care how you mix it, flip it, rub it down. Oh no, it sounds cockamamie to me. And it sounds cockamamie to them. So just stop telling it. True or not, do not tell it. And then you cannot get upset after telling this tale, whatever it may be, that everyone is laughing, but overlooking the fact that you are now telling us that you got concussed. This is new information for me. It seems like it's new information for Martell. And he basically says, if I had known that you were concussed, I would have been like, I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, who wouldn't be sorry? Like, nobody wants you to be concussed. But at the end of the day, the concussion was not the focal point of the story. The story itself is the focal point. So you being concussed as a result of this story is also as a result of what appears to be, as Martell so eloquently states, you were allegedly drinking and driving. Period. Okay? And as they're yelling back and forth, because Maurice is like, well, okay, since this is funny to me, I'm gonna start laughing at y'all. Like, and okay. Like, but ain't nobody else telling stories like this. So I mean, stop telling this story and nobody's gonna laugh at you. Simply say, I had a car accident and I got a concussion. End of story. Period. That's all that you need to say. But when you start adding in the yolk and the egg whites, the yolk, the tomatoes, the sauce, the pole, the tree, the animal, I like, just stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Do not ever do this again. And Kimmy, my God, Kimmy girl, I need you, because she's sitting there looking so serious. Girl, please stop. Don't let him tell the story. You, I, I need you to come and I need you to save him from this. And I know you mad at Martell for laughing, but if you're gonna be mad at Martell for laughing at this point, you need to be mad at the whole table for cackling at this. It's not just Martell that's making fun of this story at this point. The entire table is laughing at this tale. Okay? If you stop telling the tale, then people will stop laughing about the accident. Because again, it all sounds kooky. Like what, why would you say this? I mean, it sounds weird. I had a pole, I had a tree, I had an animal. This sounds like a riddle. Well, what happened first? What kind of animal? Like, and I have again, all my questions I asked at the beginning. Refer back to minutes 1 through 3 of this video. Okay, refer back to it. Let's remix that. Go back and then ask yourself, does this sound cockamamie or not? Did you watch that episode where you actually had that confrontation with him and listen back to what you said? Like, do you know that it sounds funny? I mean, again, nobody wants you to have a concussion. Nobody wants you to be hurt. And I think you're being willfully obtuse when you make it about you now having a concussion, and that's what people are laughing at, because you know that's not what they're laughing at, and you're smart enough to know that. But right now, I think you're just embarrassed because you don't see the comedy in the story is not resonating for you, because you are maybe looking at everything else that happened to you surrounding the story, the DUI, the questions, or the well, I mean, yes, it was dismissed or whatever they do with DUIs, and you don't have to do anything with it. But I mean, you're looking at all of those things, but we're listening to the story that you give us, and we're all just thinking the same thing. Like, bro, don't do that again. So anyway, they get into this screaming match, and it just is a to be continued from there. Clearly, it's going to finish up next week, and Martell is super mad at Kimmy. But I feel like if Kimmy was the one who was really upset with Martell, I get why she would not say anything to him directly. Like, she can't go at him like that. I mean, she could, I guess, but it would behoove Maurice to handle it with Martell versus Kimmy. But I also feel like this, Kimmy, if Maurice was not originally upset with Martell about laughing about the story because they seemed like they had gotten over it, why bring it up again? And every time Maurice brings it up, he just sounds crazier and crazier. And I kind of have to blame you at this point a little bit, because he's in this because, well, a little bit because of you. So, um, not the DUI mess in general, but the retelling of this tale, or maybe y'all just need to rehearse it better. Like, I would just coach him through it, like, babe, don't ever say that again. Cause it sounds a fool. Just don't say it. Shh. No, Meredith. No. So there we have it. Again, good episode. I mean, the I I'm gonna tell y'all, I was uncertain about how this season would go because I just didn't know what was gonna like how the cast was gonna maneuver, past everything that they've gone through. But y'all have done it. Y'all have done it. Y'all have given me a lot to cover and a lot to talk about. So well, I don't say bravo, but clap clap, right? Snaps for y'all. Snaps for y'all. With that being said, make sure you guys like this video if you haven't already liked it, or if you just like me, just like the video. Just if you like the show, if you like being alive, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. Even if you like being alive, okay, it doesn't have to be just about me or just about the show. If you just like being here on planet Earth and you've come across my channel for the first time and you haven't actually subscribed, hit that button because I know that we all do this. We all watch YouTube channels and then we don't subscribe. So then we wonder, where did my favorite creator go? I don't see them anymore. It's because you haven't subscribed. And sometimes you don't even get that. So you don't even get notified when you subscribe. So it's important that you also hit the notifications. Okay. With that being said, I will catch you in the next video.